Greetings, NFL fans. Today is Friday, December 19th. You have 5 shopping days till Christmas. Get online, get those rush orders in. This is the Shutdown Corner Podcast. I'm Kevin Kaduk here with Jay Busbee and Frank Schwab. Fellas, how is your Christmas shopping going?
Well, I texted you last night. I might be the only person who actually went to a Best Buy this holiday season. And I texted Kevin with a very bad cereal joke. And yeah, it was a delightful experience dealing with real people again who couldn't help me at all.
I was actually driving by a Best Buy like the other day, and I was wondering who still goes to a Best Buy in the age of Amazon.
Yeah, it was a Hail Mary shot to buy a GoPro. Hope my kids aren't listening to the podcast.
The couple of times I've been in Best Buy, I went and got my thing, and while I was walking to the checkout, I'm actually just looking up the product on Amazon because they'll price match whatever it's on Amazon, and I don't know like what kind of business model that is. Oh yeah, everything. I got like a new wireless keyboard. My other one went out, and it was like $50 at Best Buy. I looked it up, and it was $29.99 on Amazon. Bam, no questions asked.
Did you pick up your copy of Grown Ups on DVD while you were checking out?
A few of them. That's a great stocking stuffer. You guys, oh crap, those were for you. Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2. The saga continues. Yeah. Look, so we're putting off really what we have to talk about, and we've been talking about the downfall of the Bears a lot, and I don't want to spend that much time crying over the Bears because we shouldn't. But huge news: Jay Cutler benched for the last 2 games here in Chicago for Jimmy Clausen.
Ugh.
That's not a line you want on your resume.
If you know what, if they had some hotshot, even a mid-round pick rookie, not a David Fales, but somebody better than that, and that was the move, it'd be like, well, they're trying to see what they have. But you're not, quote unquote, trying to see what you have with Jimmy Clausen. I can tell you what you got with Jimmy Clausen. I know. I think we all know. So that's what made this one of those really, really like almost vindictive moves. And then Trestman gets up there yesterday, and he just kind of mumbles the whole time, and he doesn't really answer anything. And anybody tries to really like ask like why, why are you doing this? He just kind of keeps the same trope of the quarterback's not playing well enough. Well, yeah, okay, we know that. What specifically is he doing wrong? Well, I'm not going to get into that. Okay. All
Is this
right,
just
Mark,
a flat get off my ass move? Just leave me alone for these last 2 games?
Well, first the speculation was saying, okay, well, Trestman will try to bring Jimmy Clausen in. Let's see if he can light it up for 2 games. Then he can say, look, it was Jay Cutler's problem. Give me another year here.
I agree with that. I think that's it, by the way.
Yeah, Trestman's getting paid either way, so I don't really understand it, whether he's sitting on his ass or coaching the Bears. But then there's also this other speculation with Cutler's contract. If he was hurt the next 2 games, there's a $10 million bonus that kicks in at the end of March. And if he were injured at that point, it would kick in. So this could be a cost-saving move from the Bears. It could say, hey, let's not have him get injured these last 2 games so we can actually try to move him on the open market come the offseason. And Frank, you actually went through, and I think you're right. There's going to be no shortage of people who are going to sign up and talk themselves into Jay Cutler.
Yeah, oh yeah, because it's the perfect storm, man. It is the perfect storm of a quarterback, and a quarterback everybody can talk themselves into. How many times, even this offseason when he signed, and obviously I've never been for that move. I thought it was dumb to give him that contract, but so many people you see on social media and all that say, oh, he's got the cannon arm, and NFL teams are going to look at the film and just talk them. It'll be confirmation bias, and they will look at the plays they want to see of Jay Cutler throwing it 90 yards downfield and say, oh yeah, we could turn him around. Yes, it's a perfect storm.
I'll tell you this: after 15 years of going through everyone from Henry Burris to Chad Hutchinson to Craig Krenzel, I loved watching Jay Cutler before this year. I mean, even though you knew that those interceptions were coming, he would make throws that you would never see any other of those Bears quarterbacks ever make. And that was a lot of fun to watch because for so long we were stuck watching the game managers like Kyle Orton. Like Kyle Orton was a revelation before Jay Cutler came, right? So you have teams out there who are in the same situation. When's the last time the Bills had a great quarterback? When's the last time the Jets had a great quarterback? When's the last time even the Browns had a great quarterback? they'll easily talk themselves into Jay Cutler because who the hell else wants to watch E.J. Manuel and Kyle Orton again?
The Bills fans were very angry at me. Like, we're smarter than that. We're not going to get behind some mediocre quarterback. It's like, well, okay.
Well, now, here's the question though: is his mediocrity something that could be excused if his contract wasn't 9 figures? Was that the major issue?
I think so. I think you can't talk about Jay Cutler in a salary cap sport. You can't talk about Jay Cutler without talking about his contract. Yeah. I mean, if Jay Cutler was making $6 million a year, which no quarterback's making $6 million a year, but if he was making $6 million a year, he could say, well, he's not very good, but okay, at least we're spending that other, $10 million on a franchise left tackle and a linebacker. But that's not the case. He's chewing up a ton of their cap room, and he's not playing well. And even he admitted it. I covered Jay Cutler, and he was not a delight to cover. Let's put it that way. But I'll give him credit.
Personality like our friend Frank.
I'll give him credit that over the last 2 weeks, every time I watch his press conferences, he's handled it pretty well. And yesterday he got up there and said, you know what, I got a huge contract, and the expectations rise with that contract, and I haven't played that well. Okay, at least he knows, and everybody knows. But yeah, that you can't separate Jay Cutler from the contract.
And that's the one thing we said in the past is like Jay Cutler is coming out of this looking the best of anyone. Mark Trestman looks terrible. Aaron Kromer.
I thought Trestman looked awful yesterday. Like, given it, you've just made a kind of a seismic shift move. I mean, there's only so many moves in the NFL that are, the headline all day moves. If he benches Alshon Jeffrey, nobody really cares. I mean, we might write a post about it and then forget about it. He benched a starting quarterback for a guy everybody knows is not a good quarterback, not the answer. You have to, I think at that point for your fans, you have to offer some kind of explanation.
Well, where is Phil Emery in all this? Should the GM be out there to take
I don't think Phil Emery was on board with this, and that's why I don't think they brought him out. Because every time they asked Trestman, he danced around it, and he kept saying, this is about the 46-man roster, which means 46 guys active on Sunday. This is about the 46. This is ultimately my decision. He kept saying that over and over and over to kind of, and then at the end somebody specifically asked, was Emery supporting this? And he paused for like 4 seconds. And then he's like, well, we support each other on everything. Well, okay. He kind of danced around the fact that I don't think the GM was on board with this.
Well, what are the specifics of his contract? I mean, you mentioned the $10 million, and at one point I think the Bears would injure him deliberately if they could pay $10 million and get rid of him. But what are the specifics of his contract in terms of whether he can be traded and what they're still on the hook for?
Well, they actually get off great if they could trade him because it's a $4 million cap hit, but they save 12 points. This is all from overthecap.com, by the way. I'll give them credit because the NFL contracts are very, very confusing and they do a great job with it. If they trade him, it's a $4 million cap hit and they save $12.5 million. So basically they're saving money by trading Jay Cutler, or he's on the hook for a full 16.5 guaranteed next year for the Bears. And the year or 15.5, one of those two. And then the year after that, he's going to make about $16 million guaranteed. So somebody's taking on about $31.5 million over 2 years in Jay Cutler. And somebody will the Rams will talk themselves into it. They'll say, well, we're a quarterback away, and Jeff Fisher is probably going to get fired if we go 6-10 again. So sure, let's bring him on. Because you can never underestimate the desperation of coaches and GMs on the hot seat, because if they take on a terrible contract in Jay Cutler, what do they care if he doesn't work out? They're not going to be there in 2016 anyway. So, YOLO, just go get the guy.
I'd make a call to the San Diego Padres. They're taking on everybody's contract at this point.
But if the Bears get rid of Jay Cutler, we are again being cast off into the great unknown of quarterbacks of, the next generation of Chad Hutchinson and Henry Burris and all those names that are seared into my brain forever.
You know what? I have to say this, Kevin. I think that, and you've mentioned this. We've been on the podcast for like 10 minutes. We've mentioned this multiple times. I think the past failures of Bears quarterbacks is crippling everybody here, because I have one of my friends. He's a sharp dude. He's a smart guy in every single way, but he defends Cutler like crazy, and his only argument is ever, well, he's better than anything we've had. Well, okay, that's not a plan. That's not a long-term plan for success.
All right, Jay Cutler gets cast off. Who is the Bears starting quarterback opening day 2015?
RG3, baby, trade him to the Redskins.
That's not an answer.
No, I will say this. I'm going to say this. If you cast aside Jay Cutler, you're not going anywhere next year. Here's what I think the Bears should have done And they didn't do it because of what we just talked about. The fear of like the great unknown at quarterback, especially at the Bears. They should have signed Josh McCown for 1/10 of the money. Reinvest all that other money into defense and draft Derek Carr or Teddy Bridgewater instead of Kyle Fuller. How much better off is a franchise right now if you did that?
Yeah.
I mean, but they panic. They're like, oh my God, we don't want to go back to the Hank Burris days, so we're going to sign Jay Cutler. What's the market value? Oh, $126 million, sure. And it's a terrible move, but they did it out of fear, basically, out of the unknown. Every NFL team does it. Every NFL team. And people are like, what if the Carolina Panthers don't re-sign Cam Newton? They're going to re-sign him. Every NFL team re-signs their quarterback. It's never happened in NFL history that a quarterback in his prime has hit free agency, unless it's like a Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers situation where they already have something in place.
And this goes back to the conversation we were having last week about teams just being conservative and not breaking from the mold.
Right.
So,
yes, and how much better off would the Bears be right now, Teddy Bridgewater? Which I could have had. I mean, that's obviously a realistic scenario of re-signing Josh McCown, drafting Teddy Bridgewater, and then you're kind of set for the next 10. I think Teddy Bridgewater's a pretty good player. I think,
but these problems are so. Jay Cutler is a problem, but he is not the problem. You want to look at the Bears, and so much of it is about not developing their players and not drafting well. You have a horrible defense, and you go out and you sign a bunch of people who look like they're good defensive players, but they're free agents. They cost a lot of money. Jared Allen is old. Willie Young has been pretty good, but he costs money. Things just don't work out. You cannot build a team through free agency, just like in baseball. NFL, you can't. You have to draft those players. You have to develop them, and that just hasn't happened with the Bears.
No, I agree.
Let's look bigger picture. In terms of disappointments for this whole season, off the top of my head, I'm thinking 49ers and Kaepernick. I'm thinking Tampa Bay. I'm thinking RG3. Obviously this. Where does this fit in terms of the most disappointing storylines of the season?
I think the Giants are in there too, by the way.
The slide of the Giants.
Good. I thought the Giants were going to be pretty good. The Bears are really up there because, as I've said a million times, if you just told me they were losing 38, 35 games, fine. Okay, their defense stinks again, great. But this is the offense. It's 14-zip at halftime against the Saints. Where's the offense? Where's this great Mark Trestman offense with
You had problems on one side of the ball coming into the season. Now you have problems on deep running problems on both sides of the ball. You don't have very many years of Forte left, if any.
And I get, this is the question. Going back to what we talked about and what you were asking before, is it better to dump Cutler and go into the great unknown, or hold on to a guy who you know is overpaid and you know is mediocre? What's better? I think at some point, if you can get out of jail free card from the Rams or the Bills or the Redskins or the Titans or whoever, Texans, I think you take it. And because I think right now you're stuck in mediocrity, and Jay Cutler's never bringing you to where you want to go, and that's it. Okay, you got to do something else.
What's your gut feeling on where he goes?
I think Rams. The Rams can get out of Sam Bradford's contract, slide Jay Cutler's contract right into where that slots in. And they are one of, and as stupid as this all is after what we talked about the last 15 minutes, let's say the Rams land Jay Cutler. That might be a good fit. That might be, you look at their team, and their team is really, really good, other than the quarterback position, and I think coaching.
Well, now you say that, and I'm talking myself into Sam Bradford for the Bears.
Just a little transfusion there, a swap.
Yeah.
But
really, would Sam Bradford be the worst stopgap for them? And you draft someone and develop them?
That's fine. I don't think you could trust him, though. I don't think at this point he's just injury prone, and he's coming off 2 major knee injuries, and he's never played that well, which is that's tough. But is there a better story? Would there be a better story? Seriously, and I mentioned it, but Jay Cutler for RG3. Let's go. Why not? Everybody gets a clean slate, clean start. The Bears could try to make something out of RG3. The Redskins get their big splashy thing where they get out of the RG3 contract, or they get out of the whole RG3 mess. Where we got a quarterback we could put out there at a press conference, and everydoes's excited.
What's RG3's contract deal? Would that put the Bears on the hook for having to re-up and give him money in a few years?
I guess you wouldn't have to, but he's only under he's under one more year, and he has an option due in late April, early May. That's going to be that nobody's going to pay. Not this RG3. So you basically get 1 year of RG3. You can see what happens.
What's Craig Krenzel doing? Is he in his nuclear science facility? That was every time Craig Krenzel would start, it's like, you got a 4.0 in nuclear physics at Ohio State or molecular biology or some crap I don't know about.
I just and the Bears are just good enough. They've won just enough games that you're not getting whoever. What about Jameis? He might drop.
Well, no. Here's the question: Who's the number 3 quarterback in the draft?
That would work out real well in Chicago.
Jameis Winston in Chicago.
They would give him so much benefit of the doubt.
Oh yeah. There really is no great third quarterback in this draft, and some people say there's not even really a great number 1 and number 2. I don't think people are sold on Mariota as a pro. I don't know if people are really sold on Jameis 100%, even as a player. This is everything and the main guy I've talked to, Greg Cosell, I've talked to, and he's one of these guys. He doesn't think a lot of these quarterbacks, a lot of the Brent Hundleys and Bryce Petty's of the world. So it's going to be one of those where there's not going to be a quarterback that the Bears are going to want to take at 12 or wherever they're going to end up drafting. So I don't know, man. What about Cutler for Orton? Come on, do that. Let's run it back with Kyle Orton.
Time is a flat circle.
It's not pretty for the Bears. There's just no way around it. There's no great answer. There's no, well, if you trade Cutler, you could get this guy. It's everybody. If you're available for a reason. You're not going to be drafting anybody who's immediately going to turn around your franchise, unless you just hit a grand slam in the second round or something like that, which it's hard to do. The Bears they just have to suck it up, take their medicine, I think, and get out of their contract. I just don't see any other way.
You've completely depressed me. I don't know why I agreed to do this podcast today.
Exactly, right before the holidays.
Yeah, I've really the eggnog's going
people
down.
Probably already. What? People don't want to hear anything more about this crap. Let's move on to week 16. Let's talk about the slate.
Sure.
We will not talk about the Titans Jaguars, whatever that was last night.
Oh boy.
Saturday football, boys. Saturday
football's back. I so miss Saturday football. I used to love, early 90s, right? About that time when there'd be that random Saturday when it's like, oh, wow, NFL, sweet. Now we get it back. I'm excited. Even though these games are, they're okay.
The playoff implications, both teams gunning for the playoffs on the road. Eagles at Redskins, and then the Chargers at the 49ers. Anyway, those teams don't walk away with the win.
I think the Eagles win, but I'm interested to see RG3. I think everybody should be. I think that's an interesting storyline from that side. On the other side, I kind of think the 49ers might win that game. As crazy as it sounds, I think Phillip Rivers is just so beat up, and their offense is doing nothing. They had that one kind of strange outlier game at the Ravens, but other than that, their offense has been pretty bad for a while. I kind of think the 49ers might get them in that game.
I like that Redskins game because we actually haven't had a lot of time. A lot of chances this year just to watch RG3 when it's the only game going on. It's always been on 12 o'clock on Sunday or whatever. Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Frank, you've got experience on the beat level dealing with teams and injury reports and things like that. Phillip Rivers comes out, says he's perfectly fine, nothing to worry about, nothing at all. As a former beat reporter, what do you make of these kinds of situations when the quarterback is so adamant that he's feeling fine?
Nobody's feeling fine. I mean, nobody. You use your eyes and can see that something's a little wrong with Phillip Rivers, and his teammates have said this. I think that it's almost to the point where his teammates are like, no, we're not going to let Phillip Rivers just fall on the sword here. He's hurting, and he's being a tough guy, and he's a really, really tough dude. He played with a torn ACL in an AFC Championship game, something nobody ever mentions. I think his teammates are kind of, you heard Antonio Gates talk about it. I think somebody else talked about it. I think his teammates are kind of like, no, we're not letting this pass. We're letting everybody know that Phillip Rivers is really being a soldier out there. He's playing hurt, and he's doing this for us. We respect that.
All right, let's move on to our picks of the week, the upset of the week, lock of the week, game we'd pay to see. Either Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. You can pick from any of them, gentlemen. Upset of the week, we'll start with Frank.
Oh, this is so tough. I mean, there's not a ton of great upset picks. I guess I'll pick the 49ers over the Chargers. I don't know the point spread on that yet, but I guess I'll go with that as my upset just because like I said, I think something's a little off with the Chargers. the 49ers still have a pretty good defense. I'll pick that as my upset, even though of all these games on the slate, there's just not a lot sticking out to me.
Yeah, maybe the only one that has any kind of mystery attached to it is Colts-Cowboys. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm going to go out on a little limb here. I'm going to say Bengals over Broncos at home. Broncos been a little ragged. Peyton Manning, not quite capital P, capital M Peyton. I think that the good Bengals team might show up this week and surprise them.
That's my pick, too. That's the Monday night game. And like you said, the Bengals at home. I think that's going to be a good game. Broncos fall behind in the race for the home field advantage, which is obviously going to hurt them. Patriots have an easy one. They're at the Jets this week.
Yeah.
Lock of the week, Frank.
You know what? I think that you get a angry Aaron Rodgers playing a Tampa Bay team just completely running out the thread, even though the Packers are going on the road and haven't been the same team. I can see Aaron Rodgers throw for like 400 yards in this game and about 10 touchdowns, and Lovie Smith just looking confused on the sideline. I just don't see any way an angry Aaron Rodgers and a Packers team coming off a loss.
I love the old NFC Central matchup.
It's nice, yeah. I remember those games.
It makes me think, the old sombrero packed with pasty white Packers fans.
Those games, I'll tell you what, though. I mean, we forget how much of a wasteland the Packers franchise was before '92. And those, 1989 games between the Buccaneers and Packers were just the absolute epitome of depressing NFL. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm taking the Seahawks over the Cardinals. It's a fairly straightforward one. There's just two numbers that I want to give you, 0 and 7. Those are the career touchdowns and interceptions thrown by Ryan Lindley, who will be starting at quarterback for your Arizona Cardinals. So I don't see any way that this is anything less than a blowout. Seattle's got a lot to prove. They want to throw a scare into Arizona. Seattle in a lock.
This one's easy. Lions over the Bears. It's absolutely it does not matter.
Jimmy!
I think we're talking 35-3 here with Jimmy Clausen.
Is there any way Jimmy Clausen plays well? We didn't think Josh McCown was going to play well.
I think my favorite development of the week was smoking Jay Cutler, the Tumblr site, actually started photoshopping pictures of Jimmy Clausen smoking. What a goofy looking dude that guy is. He looks even goofier smoking. He looks like his parents are going to come out and scold him. What are you doing? Jimmy Clausen is going to go down in history. The only thing he's going to be known for is showing up in the limo at the College Football Hall of Fame to sign with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yes, and that's the first thing I think of with that guy.
That and the god-awful Avatar cover from ESPN the magazine. Did you guys ever see that one? I'll send this one to you. I'll post it up with the show. They went and photoshopped him looking like one of those Avatar cat people, all blue.
Kind of looks like one to begin with, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what they did. Okay. So, yeah, it was pretty bad.
It wasn't on the cover.
Oh yeah. It was. It was an ad right now. So yes, I know the rest of you can't see this, but I'm instant messaging it to Kevin right now.
Some poor serviceman overseas who I donate my copy to is terrified. I wonder if the servicemen overseas because I used to get that magazine and it would just go straight in the recycling. I wonder if someone just sitting there in Afghanistan oh crap, and they just recycle it or.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for your service. I'm over here fighting and dying for you, and you're sending me Jimmy Clausen cat pictures. My lock of the week. I'm going, that's weird. We already did.
You already made the lock of the week. You gave me pay to see, man.
I would pay to see.
Shell out.
I know. Falcons at Saints. It's always a good rivalry. It's basically the playoffs now for the Falcons here on out. It's going to be the Saints fans hate the Falcons fans. The Falcons fans hate the Saints fans, and nobody outside of either fan base gives a crap one way or the other. But it's always a good matchup when these two teams are together.
I will pay to see the Jets and the Patriots, and here's why. If you remember our fantasy football episode at the beginning of the year when I said we took a big chance, me and my co-owner took a big chance in the third round to Rob Gronkowski. Well, we are in the finals this week, thanks to Mr. Rob Gronkowski. I want to go and watch Rob Gronkowski finish the deal for us, win a fantasy championship.
Polish sausage himself.
Bring it home.
He is. He's a treat. Let's put it that way. There's no more entertaining guy. By the way, owning that guy finally in fantasy, I've realized that there's no more entertaining guy in the NFL on or off the field. He is so much fun to watch, and he is just a good time Charlie that I am enjoying the Gronk experience more than you could ever know. It is fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, my pay to see is down in the Big D, Colts at Cowboys, Andrew Luck versus Tony Romo. Cowboys, they control their own destiny, and something's got to go wrong, right? With the entire nation tuned in 4 days before Christmas.
It might be
Something is
DeMarco Murray trying to play with one hand. That might be what goes wrong. That could be it.
That's awesome. So I would definitely pay to see that. Frank, who are you picking that game?
I'll pick the Cowboys just because I think that they're a better team than we're giving them credit for. They are now in games that Tony Romo hasn't gotten hurt. They're 10-2. They lost that game that he got hurt against the Redskins. They lost a game after that against the Cardinals when he didn't start. They're 10-2 in the rest of their games. This is a good football team. I think we have to start just whatever preconceived notion we have of the Cowboys just has to go out the window. They're a good football team, and I think they're going to win at home against a good Indy team that might be without T.Y. Hilton, by the way. Has nothing to play for either. I think the Cowboys get it done. Whether DeMarco Murray plays or not, they still have the same great offensive line. I think if Joseph Randle does have to carry the ball more, I think he's capable. I like this Cowboys team.
What's your angle on Murray? Because every time that a player gets injured, I think that you and I follow a lot of the same Twitter people, and you'll always see these football doctors come and say, there's no way he's going to recover from that. No way he's going to be able to play in 2 days. What's the latest that you've heard?
I think, if he practiced, the telltale sign to me was he said, it's up to me if I play or not. And once you put that out there, you're going to play, because then if you don't play, everybody's going to kind of get on you, right? Like, oh, you said it was your call. Why didn't you play? We're trying to win the NFC East here. So I think once he threw that out there, he was almost boxing himself in a corner that he'd play. I don't think he's going to be the same guy, but I guess you carry the ball in your right hand and deal with the pain in your left, and you're not going to catch any balls, and you're probably not going to do a lot in the passing game because it's going to be harder to block. But I think that he could be functional for 15 carries, and I don't know that they need a ton more out of him than that. I think that'll be enough.
Yeah, hopefully they get out to a big early lead against a Colts team, as you mentioned, has nothing to play for, has been that great on the road. So, yeah, hopefully nothing goes wrong. I'm not saying that it won't, because, like I said, they're in the spotlight. Something's going to go wrong.
I can see it. I of all that bluster I had about them being 10-2 and all that, yeah, they can fall apart. That's clear. But I mean, it's interesting that they're still in line for a number one seed. That could happen. They beat Seattle, so they have the tiebreaker over Seattle if it comes to that. I think we all think Seattle's going to beat Arizona. I mean, if Arizona could win with Ryan Lindley against that Seahawks defense, well, Bruce Arians shouldn't be coaching football. He should be in medicine.
Cardinals fans are so worked up because we're already chalking up a win for the Seahawks, and maybe that's the wrong, but man, how can you sit there and this was when we didn't know if Ryan Lindley or Logan Thomas was going, but why did it matter?
It didn't matter. Both are zeros. I mean, they're just and I say this, and yes, you're right. Cardinals fans get very defensive, but any NFL team down to their third quarterback, I wouldn't pick. What third string quarterback am I going to pick over the Seattle Seahawks? Like, no, that's not going to happen.
I feel bad for Cardinals fans because it was such a great start to the season for them. There's been so many things to like and a great coach, but ultimately, it's just like you're not really going to have a big, long playoff run. I mean, they could prove us wrong, I guess.
Yeah, I guess unless Stanton comes. But even Stanton wasn't playing well, and I feel the exact same way. I feel like I have 100% respect for what the Cardinals have done this year. To go 11-3 with all the guys they've lost. That's not just quarterback. They've lost Andre Ellington, and Darrell Washington got suspended, and Darnell Dockett got hurt, and all this. They're 11-3. That's great. That's awesome. But yeah, I don't see them getting on a playoff run with Ryan Lindley.
Yeah, there is that sense that we got jobbed there because they were going to break into the kind of Seahawks, Packers, Broncos, Patriots quartet that we had seen for so many years, and they were going to bring something new to the table and just brought low by injury.
Yeah.
But we're still. I mean, if they win, they're probably the number one seed in the NFC with Ryan Lindley. If they could somehow pull it off against Seattle, and in a one-game situation, anything can happen. Obviously, I'm not picking them; they're not favored. But who knows? If they win, they're number one seed in the NFC. So
crazy. That would be nuts. And you know what? So many things have happened that we didn't expect in 2014. So maybe it will.
Maybe it will. Yeah, who knows? The race for the buys in the NFC is really.
I was about to say, dodging that first round game will be phenomenal for anybody.
Yes, I think that yes, we're seeing it's going to be really, really interesting because obviously the Packers aren't the same team on the road. the Seahawks are just playing out of their minds right now. They're like it's 2013 all over again. The Cowboys still have the inside track for getting a bye and all this stuff. So there's a lot to be shaken out yet. It's going to be really interesting to see if anybody gets upset like the Packers did last weekend. It just jumbled the whole thing and changed the entire picture again.
Yeah. All right, well, we will be back next week on Tuesday. We are going to do our best of 2014, hand out some awards, probably talk a little bit about that playoff picture, but mostly look back, so we want to tune in for that. And on NFL in 90, I don't want to spoil things, but let's just say a man in a red suit and a white beard might be. So you might want to tune in on Monday morning for my
Get
weekly
those
NFL
sleigh bells ringing.
I want to see you abduct Jimmy Clausen after he throws for 350 yards and 5 touchdowns and bring him to the Chicago studio and dress him up as Santa.
Dress him up as Rudolph, an Avatar themed Rudolph. You think? You like it? We could actually. He's in such little demand. We could actually probably get him for the NFL 90 spot.
Yeah, it's like yesterday I was watching the NFL Network for the press conferences, and I watched Trestman at the edge of my seat transcribing, and same with Cutler. And then Clausen came on, and I think I turned the channel. I was like,
look at this schmo. Poor Jimmy Clausen. I will point out that there was another JC who arrived in humble beginnings around this time of year.
There you go. So you're comparing Jimmy Clausen to Jesus.
We should probably end it right there.
Call it a day.
All right, we will be back on Tuesday for that Best of 2014 show. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. This is the Shutdown Corner Podcast. Kevin Kaduk, Frank Schwab, and Jay Busbee. We'll see you next week.